I'm Johnny Claridge. Today I'm going to try to teach you the absolute easiest thing I ever learned through all of my years of engine building, and it's checking piston to valve. I'm going to show you a way to check it where you can do it in the car or on the engine stand. So if you ever want to advance your cam, retard your cam, or degree your cam, you don't have to tear the whole motor down to know if you had it. Now I'm going to show you the easy part first, because this is a known piston head combination, so there's some steps I don't have to worry about. But when you're doing something new and unknown, I will show you the harder part of doing piston to valve clearance. But today right now I'm just going to show you the easy part of checking piston to valve. For this part of checking piston to valve, this is all the tools I'm going to need. I hope if you're building your own engine, you have a dial indicator. By doing it this way, you're leaving out clay. You don't have to tear your motor down to do a simple check. I'm just going to show you the simplest, easiest way to check piston to valve on a motor that's already assembled, or any other time you're trying to check it in the assembly process. Later on, I'll get into center punching and sweeping the pockets on an unknown project. This project, I happen to know I got enough pocket area to clear the valves, so I'm just going to show you now how to check piston to valve the easy way and the best way. First step, I remove the valve cover. We're now going to take the stud girdle off, get it out of the way. We're then, in your case, you will probably have to take the jam nut out of your poly lock. I've got a pair of mock-up jam nuts I'm going to use, and then we'll set the valves with our adjusting nuts, being able to adjust them all the way down without the jam nut being in the way. When doing this part of the test, make sure your poly locks, or whatever, if you're using Jessel or shaft type rocker arms or T&Ds, that you have the adjusting nut lubed up with good lube or heavyweight oil, because we're trying to turn this down and it will be under the load of a spring, so there will be a lot of pressure, so you don't want drag interfering in your checking. As I said, this is my mock-up poly locks. You can do it with your poly locks by taking the jam nut out, or if you got shaft rockers, just taking the adjusting nut off. But these need to be lubed with some kind of high pressure oil to make sure you don't drag. Okay, get it. When setting lash for this test, we want the rocker arm set at what the motor will be when it's at running temperature. In the case of this motor, that's 25 thousandths. So I'm going to roll the motor around, get the exhaust valve opening, set the intake. Then I'll go around, keep the intake valve closing. Set the exhaust. The next step is to get these two rocker arms on the split, which is going to be intake exhaust closing and intake opening. Okay, we're now, as you can see, we're on the split, and the first number we are looking for is 10 degrees. It's 10 degrees before TDC, which is where, as the camera can see it, yeah, which is right here. We will then check the exhaust. So this is where I'll use my little custom built angle iron here to hold my dial indicator. If you have some kind of plate or something that your dial indicator can be solidly mounted, that's just as good. On this operation, I take the fine point out of my dial indicator because I want a flat surface to hit against the top of this retainer. do my best to try to match the angle of the valve, but to stay on that flat surface of the retainer, which in the case of this retainer is really small. I then set my dial indicator to 0. As you can see, I've set this on 0. You just start cranking it down. Real simple. We want to go easy. You're not torquing this poly lock down. As you can see, it's about 150 thousandths clearance. Back up to 0. And then we will repeat this process on the intake side, which will be 10 degrees after TDC. Same thing. Get my dial indicator set on it. Set it to 0. See? The intake side, it stops at 90. Then I can return my lash back to the cold lash setting, and this motor will be ready to go to the dyno. We'll pick up later on how to do center punching and sweeping the pockets. But you can do this type of checking piston to valve anytime in your operation. You're not going to have to tear the motor down to do it. So if you make a cam change or a timing change to your cam, you can run right back to this at any time and check it. This is absolutely the easiest way to check it. It's better than clay, and you can do it at any point of your operation. And I'll fill you in a little later when we get more in depth into piston to valve. Okay.